And the subject of today's talk is God's nature as Father. And there's a quote that goes with it that I think is really a nice quote. God reveals himself mainly through the heart as love and light. So today is Father's Day, and we're celebrating the masculine energy, God's nature as Father. Traditionally on Father's Day, fathers are celebrated with acknowledgement and gifts like cool neckties. And as Missy mentioned in the announcements, today the sisters have prepared what I'm sure is going to be an absolutely wonderful brunch, and the brothers are all looking forward to that time. But you have to sit through the rest of the talk and the music first. So in earlier times and places, the supreme deity was often worshipped as a masculine god and often worshipped as a feminine god. So the deity was given the attributes of either the masculine energy or the feminine energy. And also through history and prehistory, societies had been organized, some of them as patriarchal societies and some of them as matriarchal societies. But we've come to know that the nature of God is not either masculine or feminine, but is both. God has the dual nature, incorporating both masculinity and femininity. So it seems like for a Father's Day thing, I should list the qualities of men. And going back to in history and maybe even prehistory, there are qualities that were recognized as masculine. Strength, which was due primarily to the fact that most men are larger than most women. And the man was seen as the protector of the family or the social group. Again, this probably has a lot to do with size and strength. Typically, men were the hunters of meat, bringing home the high protein to add to the meals. And then there was competition with other males for mates. This is typically based on strength, property ownership, or wallet size. So in times past, social roles were more defined. Today, we're moving into a time where, in order to create more opportunity for more people, we're letting these roles fall aside. And there's positive aspects of that, but it can also be a little bit confusing when what had been a roadmap in the past is no longer there. So I'm going to also run through the masculine and feminine qualities from traditional Chinese medicine. Most of us have heard of yin and yang, yin being the female and yang the male. So the yang energy compared with the yin energy would be like male energy, man versus woman. Sky as compared to earth. Sun as compared to the moon. Summer compared to winter. Heat to cold. And day to night. Now, over the years, Sunburst has experienced an evolution. I can remember when I first came to Sunburst about 50 years ago, there was definitely a masculine energy about the group. It was founded by a very strong man, and the first people that gathered around him were men, young men. But as time went on, Norm made it clear that God was dual in nature. And we moved away from I guess you'd say, a male-dominated type situation to one of equanimity and equal balance between the male and the female energies. Early on, you'd hear the phrase Heavenly Father a lot, and not as much today, but you're more apt to hear reference to Divine Mother Father. And Norm always used the phrase to refer to God as I am that I am. He said he'd come to know that that was God's favorite name for himself, herself. I am feminine, I am masculine, I am that I am. So I'm going to read a quote, and this is like the reading that we did during the song. This is also from Sacred Science. Life of spirit is a form of energy. Energy propelled into motion by thoughts, moving outward from the center into the sea of non-moving energy, produced resistance and friction. Ecstasy, time, and sound were born from the motion and friction at the moment light appeared around resistance. That which had been androgynous in the infinite sea of thatness awakened to become two. I am feminine, I am masculine, I am that I am. Now, Norm had the great fortune to have been shown by Spirit the genesis of creation, how everything that we see and experience around us came into being. So the words that we had spoken earlier and then of this last quote describe the genesis of the dual nature of God or Spirit, our creators, and hopefully our best friends. So Norm was shown amazing things in the Spirit, in vision, and he did his best to try to convey that to us. He made the attempt to describe the indescribable, and he used Walt Whitman's term or phrase, you know, when I try to explain this, my tongue is ineffectual on its pivots. But the words that I'm going to use are those from Norm as best as I can remember and paraphrase. So I want to do a little visual exercise here, and we're going to visualize the genesis of creation. So we're going to, at first, there is the unmanifest. There really is nothing. There's not even thought, no movement, no form. It's just a vast, unmanifest sea of bliss. And apparently Spirit had the thought that perhaps it would be good or be interesting to have something more. And this was the beginning of the genesis of creation. The unmanifested Spirit of God gave birth to thought forms. I want you to imagine in this vast sea of thatness, sea that of the unmanifest, a point in the center. And I'm going to use my hands to help describe this because I don't have pictures. And from that point, Spirit sent out 4 vortexes. I want you to imagine you've got the point in the center, and then you have 2 large arcs, one going to the left and one going to the right. And I'm going to be describing this because our language is linear. I'll have to kind of describe events that were happening simultaneously, one at a time. So we'll start with the feminine aspect. And Spirit sent 2 vortexes out around this arc. And as they come back around, they're approaching each other. But simultaneously, 2 vortexes are sent out, spinning energy and coming around, and they're going to come together. So as these energies, these vibrations, this spinning motion, as they come together on the one arc, they come together and there is an ignition of the divine feminine offspring. But at the same time, there's an ignition opposite it of the divine masculine offspring. In addition to light, sound also was born. And the sound associated with the feminine offspring is similar to the sound of Om. The sound associated with the masculine offspring is similar to the sound of Hum. So once these 2 offspring, male energy and female energy, were created by the law of magnetic attraction, they were drawn back together. So you have, in this image, you have the female and the male divine offspring, and they're drawn back together, and they meet again at the smallest of all places. And when they come together, because they're of opposite spin, they're able to occupy the same space. But that combination of the male and female energy was what created what we know of today as the Big Bang. From that union, all of the universe, all that we know, was created and expanded out from that small point. So at this point, we're going to have the opportunity to listen to Norm talk about this concept in his own words. This is a recording of one of his talks.
Through meditation, we become aware of the dual forces that created us. The masculine force that descends down through the crown of the head in the vortex, turning counterclockwise. And the feminine force which descends upon us and wraps us in a cocoon of light, turning clockwise. The masculine force descends to our beating hearts as the feminine force arises. The bridal chamber is the heart. And it's there in the bridal chamber of our hearts that the dual forces of spirit create a consciousness, a being within us. Awaken it and bring it forth from our soul.
So this is a little different. The first quotes that were read had to do with the genesis of creation of all the universe. And this, although it is very similar, has to do with what goes on inside our own body. And our heart is like the smallest of all places. Now, what we need to realize here is that there can be some confusion when you talk about directions of spin, like clockwise and counterclockwise. And that's because it depends on your point of reference, or whether that vortex is coming towards you or going away. If you have a vortex descending on you, like the masculine vortex, you're going to look, if you look up, at first it's going to appear as if it's in a clockwise rotation, but as it goes down and passes through your heart and continues down, it's going to be a counterclockwise rotation. So don't let clockwise and counterclockwise confuse you. The most important aspect of this is to remember that the feminine vortexes and the masculine vortexes are of different spin. So this is another way of describing the mystical marriage, or another way of describing this mystical marriage, this joining of the masculine and feminine energies in our heart, is to use the image of the six-pointed star created by two triangles that are interlaced. And if you look at the windows, the stained glass in these windows, they have the image of the interlaced triangles forming this six-pointed star. The triangle that points down represents the masculine energy descending from heaven. The triangle that points up represents the feminine energy rising up from the earth. And when these two energies join in our heart, this is what Norm described as the birth of a new consciousness within us, often referred to as the Christ energy. And in the center of the stained glass in the windows, inside the triangles, is a small circle, and that represents our heart, or represents the smallest of all places. We're going to hear Norm speak again about the dual nature of God as mother and father.
The dual nature of God as mother and father, they hover around us constantly, calling us. Those who are called to search for God led to a place where they can be given tools of meditation, an environment to be in, such as this place that God has led us to create here.
So this sanctuary, this temple that we find ourselves sitting in, are the fruit of projections, mental thoughts that were put out into the field of power. And this sanctuary and temple are the manifestations of those thoughts. And all of us who are here were brought here, every one. And are brought here by our desire to know God. So we're going to go into meditation, a quiet period of meditation for a while. And for those who have been initiated into Kriya meditation, this is the time to use that. And for those that haven't, imagine energy that moves up and down your spine. The masculine energy is descending in a vortex. The feminine energy rising up and surrounding us in a cocoon of light and love. So as you breathe in, you can feel the energy descending, and as you breathe out, feel the energy coming up. And try to keep your gaze focused in a place just out in front of you. Now, as we go into meditation, we'll have the bowls, but first, I'd like to do a chant, which we have not done very often more recently. And this chant should establish a strong masculine vortex. In the full version of the Sunburst Mandala, or cosmogonic diagram, there are 4 colored triangles in the center of the 2 interlaced triangles. And those represent 4 forces or energies. And those have been given names. The one that is associated with the direction to the north, to the airs, that is Ra. And to the west, that energy is the energy of the earth. Mu. The energy labeled Ta is from the south, and that's the energy of fire. The energy to the east is La, the waters. And then if you imagine this going on around your head, in front of you would be Ra, to the left, Mu, behind you, Ta, and to the right, La. And as we chant those different names, a vortex is started, and then we, after Ra, Mu, Ta, La, will chant Hum, which is the sound associated with the masculine vortex. Please join me. Ra. La. Ra. Mu. Ta. La. Ra. Mu. Ta. La. And now let the bowls guide us into meditation. Please join me in prayer. Divine Mother, Divine Father, I invite you to join together in my heart. That my consciousness might be elevated. Thank you for this life, for this opportunity to experience and know your presence. Amen.
Oh my Lord, I feel you everywhere. Take my life, I put it in your care. Oh my Lord, I feel you everywhere. Take my life, I put it in your care. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Lord, let me walk with you, talk with you, be with you, show you the love that I've always held for you. Oh, my Lord, I feel